There's understandably a long history of distrust within the African American community when it comes to medicine in America. Science was often used to legitimize slavery during the 1800s, to prove why blacks were less than human. It was espoused that blacks had thicker skulls and a nervous system that was less sensitive to pain than compared to whites. These ideas led to brutal experimentations on live patients who, because of their status as slaves, could say nothing. In many instances, much of this guided our modern medical understanding. In fact, a 2016 survey found that these ludicrous and debunked scientific myths are still around. 50% of white medical students and residents believe that there are biological differences between blacks and whites. 25% think African Americans have thicker skin than whites. These racial biases lead to very different medical recommendations. It's no wonder then that black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die during pregnancy. Medical mistreatment didn't end with the Civil War. Throughout the 20th century, in 32 states, there were federally funded eugenics and sterilization programs, ones that didn't go unnoticed by Adolf Hitler himself. They were used for social engineering with the idea that one could remove undesirable traits in the population, of course, in the hands of racists who didn't think African Americans were equal. This program had a very chilling effect. Civil rights icon Fannie Lou Hamer went to the hospital for a minor surgery and was given a hysterectomy against her will. The procedure was so common that it was known as a Mississippi appendectomy. Mrs. Hamer once told an audience that where she lived in Sunflower County, Mississippi, 6 out of 10 black women were sterilized in this fashion. And of course, there's the infamous Tuskegee experiment from 1932 to 1972. Scientists performed syphilis experiments on 400 black men without telling them. And even after a cure was discovered in 1947, they were never provided it. Right now, the world is being ravaged by the coronavirus. Early data indicates that black people are making up a disproportionate number of the fatalities, given their overall percentage of the population in America. However, COVID-19 does not discriminate based on race or ethnicity, so what is going on here? In this episode of The Uncomfortable Truth, we're going to explore how institutional racism might be playing a role in why a heavier number of patients are black or brown. This is Loki Mulholland, and it's time to get uncomfortable. Today we're joined by our usual contributor to the show, freedom writer and civil rights activist Levon Brown. Levon, how are you doing?
Okay, Loey, how are you?
What's my
Loey.
name?
Yeah.
Was
Loki.
it? Loki,
Loki.
all right.
Loki. Loey.
Loey, all right. I know your other white friend is named Louis, so I guess you just kind of threw them together,
Yeah, I
all right?
just kind of, say hello to everybody. Oh, God.
So, well, first of all, how are you doing? I mean, what's going on with you guys out there in New York with the coronavirus and all?
We've sort of, we've divvied up the work. Well, first of all, we have Ann working at home. My Ann's my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She works pretty much at home now. My daughter does too. It's easier for my daughter because Ann is sort of running a small business and much of the stuff she needs is in New York. But so far, she's able to get through okay. And she's the person that's designated to go out. She gets groceries. She does all kinds of stuff. I do my therapy online.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go into the city anymore for acupuncture.
Right.
So we're trying to follow the rules, and so far we're doing okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're doing acupuncture online? I mean, is your wife just
No,
kind of
no,
poking you as?
no. We don't do no. But I do take herbs. I
All
do
right.
take the. I have my acupuncturist also does herbs, so he can have them sent to me. And which some of them are COVID-19 type preventive drugs. Some of them are to up the immune system, that kind of stuff. So I do that, and I drink the tea that he sends. So
Okay.
I'm getting treatment.
So when you're saying herbs, you're not. This is not medicinal.
Yeah, not those herbs. No, these are These are Chinese herbs.
All right.
Yeah, yeah. So we're doing good. We're
Oh,
doing
good.
good.
That's good, man.
You know, it's funny that you would bring that up.
What's that? The
But
herbs?
no, the COVID-19, because I was talking about that. I have uh, a woman that comes. She comes on Wednesday now primarily because I don't go out.
Right.
So she comes on Wednesday. She helps me out, and we were talking about everybody's talking about getting back to normal,
Mm,
and my thing was let's hope we don't. And what I meant by that is all the people that people start to realize that all the people we're calling heroes and that type state that they get the recognition afterwards that they should have been getting all along. Uh,
right. Oh, you're talking like
my
grocery workers and so forth. I
well,
mean,
grocery workers, truck drivers,
yeah.
policemen, I give them their due. Uh, Train drivers, any of those people, nurses, emergency room doctors. I don't say all doctors, because many of the doctors are home.
Right.
They get paid a lot of money and they try to do all stuff online. But most of these people, the working people of our environment, we don't even notice.
Yeah.
And now those are the people that we're dependent on.
I think someone said that you're starting to see that CEOs don't run the country, workers do.
Right. Well, that's true. That's very true. These are people that we didn't even want to pay the minimum wage.
Hmm.
We didn't even want to pay the $15 or whatever it is, whatever the minimum wage is. That we didn't want to pay it. That companies didn't want to pay it.
Right, but by golly, you better be at that restaurant and give me curbside, service.
Exactly. Exactly. So we'll see. We'll see.
Mm,
So anyway, you wanted to talk about something else.
right. Yeah. We could jump to that. So once again, African Americans find themselves in the usual position as victims of an unequal society. This time, we're seeing it played out with the coronavirus. Why?
Yeah. Again, okay. So the coronavirus is simply a symptom.
Hmm.
In other words, I know it's killing people. I know it's killing poor whites as well. By the way,
Hmm.
but uh, what's let's see. I need to explain this. So what's going on has been happening for some time. It's just that now people are dying from it, or dying obviously from it. The president, the Democrats, the Republicans have all of a sudden discovered that wait a minute, we have black people that are dying, we have brown people that are dying. Well, they've been dying all along. They don't have hospitals because people forget that most of the non-public hospitals are for profit. They will make money,
Mm,
and if you don't have money, they're not going to build a hospital there. You look at where the hospitals are placed that are private hospitals. They don't care whether you live or die if you're not contributing money to the institution. Right? So black people in their neighborhoods don't have hospitals, don't have doctors. Why? Because there's no money to be made. So that's been going on forever. It's just that now it's pointed out.
right.
Um, they have so there's two things that happens. There's profit, which black people in this country, the ones who generate profit, are taken care of. The ones who are not are not. So if you live in a section of Queens or Harlem or wherever that is not generating income for the hospitals, for the doctor, then what you're going to get are people that just came out of school, people looking for something to do, or people who just want to help,
Hmm.
right? And there aren't going to be many of those. So all of a sudden, we discover that in these sections, there's not enough medical care for the people that you haven't been taking care of all along.
Right.
And what else goes on is actually heard black people say this is not COVID-19 will not affect us it only affects white people.
Wow.
Now, how's that for? Yes, I've heard black people say that. How is that for a divide when you don't believe that this will happen? We discover that black people are suffering from diabetes, high blood pressure, all kinds of stuff. Well, yeah, they are because of economics. They eat um, low grades of meat. They eat a lot of salt. They eat a lot of sugar,
Hmm.
right? Because that's what they are. That's what's in their neighborhood.
Right.
Uh, so that's been going on for a long time. The water in Flint, Michigan, has been that way for a while. They knew that when they switched the water source. They
Right.
knew that people were going to die. All of a sudden, we now know that people are dying in Flint. So, I guess what I'm saying is this is just on a massive scale what's been going on all along.
Hmm.
Now, I will say this, and I might get in trouble saying this, but black people should have realized this. The same people that we're asking for help, that we're criticizing for not helping, are those white people, A, who have wanted to help all along, or B, don't give a damn about you. So
Hmm.
what have you been doing, Mr. Black Person? What have you been doing for your own health? What have you been doing to feed yourself? What have you been doing to the corporation who doesn't care whether you live or die? What have you been doing? And now you know, now it's in your face. What are you going to do? And I don't mean just the educated black people, educated brown people, educated poor whites. What are you going to do? You now know. It's been pointed out to you that these people don't care whether you live or die if you're not contributing to their bottom line. We had a tax bill that got passed that helped corporations.
Hmm.
Who are you kidding? They're not the, we now know that they are not the people that needed help.
Right.
All right, so what are we going to do about it? This virus has shown what a separation of people does. So people with money, right? When they say stay home, uh, I don't have a problem staying home because I have a house big enough to walk around in.
Right.
A lot of people don't. So what do? We don't have grocery. We can go to the grocery store because the stores are accommodating. But if you live in a food desert, meaning they don't have stores or they only have certain kinds of food, that's where you're gonna go because the government has said you can't go anywhere else. Now you know that. You know if we have another one, they're gonna do that to you. What are you going to do?
In my other life, I'm a filmmaker, and one of my more fascinating films I created is the award winning film titled Black, White, and Us. It's about viewing racism through the lens of transracial adoptions in Utah. Utah? Yeah, Utah. It just so happens to be the transracial adoption capital of the world. So, what happens when white families who didn't believe racism existed anymore adopts a black child? Find it on Amazon Prime or visit lokimulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection. So you brought up a point about the disparity in the work in respects that so less than 1 in 5 black workers and roughly 1 in 6 Hispanic workers are able to actually work from home. So there's already the disproportionate number of people who, if they're going to work, they're going to be exposed, and that happens to be black and brown people.
Black and brown people.
Chicago's numbers in particular are striking. Blacks are 30% of the population, but 68% of the victims.
Hmm.
Now, you spent a bit of time working in Chicago after Mississippi.
Right.
You have some personal knowledge of the economic imbalance there, the wealth gap, and such. How do you think that is playing into it today?
Oh, it's the same. It still is. But most of the people who come and to live in Chicago or who now live in Chicago, the black people live in one place, white people live somewhere else, and The wealthier white people and black people live somewhere else, live in another place.
Mm-hmm.
And neither one of them, either the white people with money or the black people with money, pay much attention to the black people that don't have money. Uh, so it is a very divided city. It has been for some time. And it's controlled by the aldermen, most of whom are white. Some are liberal, most are not. Uh, the labor force, the black people and the brown people who work in Chicago, have the low paying jobs. Now, the interesting part is that those jobs tend to be better than what they would get in Alabama, Mississippi, or Georgia, but they're still the low end jobs. Black people and brown people and poor whites take the jobs that they are allowed to take.
Mm. So on April 7th of this year, I made a Facebook post that read, Blacks are 68% of COVID-19 deaths in Chicago, but 30% of the population. Chicago is not alone. Welcome to institutional racism. While many people agree with my rather blunt assessment, an African-American woman wrote, this is what she wrote, ain't no institutional racism, it's self-neglect, and then posted information from the Department of Health of the racial breakdown and underlying conditions of Louisiana's residents who died of COVID-19. 70.5% are African American.
Right.
I understand that blacks make up 32% of the population as a whole in Louisiana. The underlying conditions of those who died range from hypertension, diabetes, and obesity to cardiac disease, congestive heart failure, and cancer.
Right.
She then wrote, welcome to black people having more underlying conditions for refusing to take care of themselves. I guarantee 70% of black people don't regularly have a full comprehensive exam. I guarantee you 80% of the blacks don't have health insurance because they think it costs too much. Let's put the blame where it belongs. We as blacks are overweight. We have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, but still eat fried fast food every day. I've been a nurse 20 years. I know all of this to be true. So stop it with the racism card.
I don't think.
Well, let me ask this. I mean, does she have a point, or is she missing a point and not seeing how institutional racism plays a part in taking away the options that would lead to better health?
I think both things are happening. I think they eat a lot of fried stuff because of two reasons. One is, and salty stuff. That's all that's in their neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the stores that open, and that's where they get their food. So it's a matter of choice and convenience, right? That's one thing. The other thing is, I think that people are afraid of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the area you're in. So doctors really like. I'll give you an example. I wanted to see a podiatrist.
Right.
Now, there's a guy in my doctor's office who's a podiatrist and has been for I don't know how long he's been there. So I went to him. My doctor sent me to him. I go to the guy. The guy didn't. He never touched me. So I knew right then that that's not anybody I want to go to.
Right.
Because I don't know how he's going to examine my feet without touching my foot. So there are people like that. So she's right from the standpoint of not recognize what's not in there is that choice and of where you go to shop and how much you spend and what kind of job you have and all of that goes into healthcare. So if they don't get insurance because insurance costs too much, there's a reason for that.
Right.
And a part of that is racism. So I understand what she's saying, but she's leaving out the economics of this country. And that is institutional.
My work has taken me to a lot of places, and I've been fortunate to meet some incredible people. But when I came to Selma and met Joanne Blackman Bland, I knew I was in the presence of greatness. Joanne was 11 years old when she was attacked on the Edmund Pettus Bridge on Bloody Sunday in 1965. She wasn't old enough to vote, but understood its importance enough to be there. After Selma is an in-depth look at how our right to vote has eroded since the signing of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The fight for the right to vote continues. Get informed. You can find After Selma on Amazon Prime or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection. I mean, but there's plenty of obese white people, right? I mean, clearly, there's plenty of people with all sorts of health issues. Um, but is it really? I mean, I guess you kind of answered this question, but to her point, it was really just kind of like, look, black people are the root of their own problems at this point,
Well, I think that's no, only half of it. I'll give her half
right?
because she's not understanding what else is going on.
Right. The underfunding of education, food deserts, unequal medical treatment, this all plays a role.
And of course, it does.
And so we're seeing the fruits of what have been sowed.
Exactly.
How much of that is a blanket sweep of just, black people in general? They have high blood pressure. They don't take their pills, and this is the issue. I mean, that's clearly not the case. I mean, there's a lot of people who don't take medications, who don't listen to their doctors.
There are.
And to simply say that that's just a cultural thing of black people is, personally, I think, is just kind of missing the point.
Well, that's what she sees.
Right.
I mean, I understand that, but you're right. Absolutely. It's leaving out, there's a whole bunch of poor white people who do this.
This is a health education issue in our country.
Oh, it is.
So there's another aspect at play with the COVID-19, and it has to do with how we perceive black men. Now, we've all been asked to wear masks, ones that are hard to come by at this point, and that anything will do, really. I mean, make your own mask or simply get a bandana and tie it around your face.
Right.
Now, when I first heard this, I thought, uh-oh, I don't like where this is going, right?
But, yep. Yep.
Well, an article in the Washington Post proved that I wasn't too far off base. The headline reads, "Two black men say they were kicked out of Walmart for wearing protective masks.
Right.
Others worry it will happen to them." Now, of course, we're talking about racial profiling at this point.
Oh, of course we are. Yes, we are.
So one gentleman is a 53-year-old marketing consultant in Nashville, and he said, "As an African American man, I have to be cognizant of the things I do and where I go, so appearance matters. I have pink, lime green, Carolina blue, so I don't look menacing.
Right.
I want to take a lot of that stigma and risk out as best I can."
Right.
Now, the article notes that there are reports of police officers following young black men who are wearing masks in stores. Masks we've been instructed to wear to protect us from the coronavirus. So if a black person doesn't wear it because he doesn't want to get arrested or worse, then the coronavirus might do them in anyway.
Right.
And it should be noted, by the way, that the masks those two men were wearing, when they were told by the police they couldn't wear them, they were surgical masks.
Really?
They weren't bandanas or anything. I mean, you damned if you do and damned if you don't. But
Right.
so now we have this whole other element of racial profiling, or unconscious bias, and so forth, layering into this idea. Well, a black man wearing a mask, clearly, unless it conforms to the mask that we think they should wear, that is non-threatening to us, or like this gentleman points out, is a bright color, right? That clearly they're not there to buy food. They're there to steal it.
Right. But see, even that is nothing new. I have a brother who, or actually myself included, I get on a plane a lot. I go like to go places, right?
Right.
I am conscious of what I wear, what kind of clothes. Now you can get on there and you can put on your jeans and t-shirt. If I get on a plane, I am always not dressed up, but I am dressed.
Right.
Why? Because they're gonna look at me like, I don't know, he doesn't have the right clothes on.
Yeah. I mean, you see some
He-
people get on an airplane and it's like, man, did you even get dressed this morning?
exactly, but you don't see black people do that,
No.
and there's a reason for that. And it's the same as with the mask. It's in the people's mind that you're gonna do something, and so I'm gonna dress like I'm not threatening. I'm not gonna hurt anybody. I'm not gonna do anything. With the mask, you're screwed because you got to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't got to wear a mask, but you're told to wear a mask
Right.
or die.
Right.
So when a black guy walks in a store, Uh, it makes a choice.
Yeah.
He makes a choice. It's I don't know.
Yeah, well, even the Surgeon General, who is African American, you know, he said something very peculiar yesterday, and I think the NAACP called him out on it actually, where he noted that Hispanics and blacks, they might want to stop, drinking alcohol and doing drugs. That will help them as well fight the COVID-19.
What he he said that?
Yeah, well, which medically is true.
Yeah, but why did he tell white people that?
Yeah, but nonetheless, I mean, here is this, as a white person making this assumption, here's this black person. I mean, clearly you're not going to profile your own people. And yet he's already.
But that's how you get to belong. By profiling your people, you now become one of them. They accept you.
Mhm.
You know, you're going so far not to be on the black person or the brown person's side so that the white person will accept you.
Mm.
That's what that's all about. And that's what it's been about forever. I don't want to be I don't want to go too far in the defense of so he couldn't discover black people until all the white people that he worked with discovered them.
Right.
Now he discovered them. Now he knows about them.
Now it's safe to talk about.
Now it's safe to talk about it.
Because if he brings it up before that, then he's just, well, you're pandering, or you're. I mean, not even that. I mean, it's
Yeah,
your.
you're one of them. We didn't know that.
Yeah.
uh, but that's what goes on.
Oh, you're looking out for your own now.
Yeah.
An Ordinary Hero was my first award-winning documentary. It's about the life of my mother, Joan Trumpauer Mulholland, and her participation in the civil rights movement. For most of us, our mothers are heroes because they're mothers, and mom is just mom. But when your mother's a civil rights icon, and yet you never really knew it, things change. Go check out An Ordinary Hero and find out how choosing to do what was right instead of what was easy helped change the world. You can find it on Amazon Prime, or visit LokiMulholland.com to purchase a copy for your collection.
Obama fought this problem the whole while he was in office.
Right.
He had to be an American president. I think he did a pretty good job of it. But he could not come out and talk about black people or brown people until he was able, because he was the president of all people. So every message he had to voice that way.
And he was expected to be the president of all people because the fear was that he'll just be a president for black people and
Right.
and they'll take over.
Right. Exactly.
But yet, no one's making that expectation of the current resident
Well,
of the White House.
no, he's for white people. He's made that clear.
Right.
He's made that clear. I think he's made it clear.
Sure.
And so it could care less about black people. So anybody that he appoints or whatever, this guy had to do what he did. Who's the guy who's in housing?
Ben Carson.
Yeah, Ben Carson. I'm the guy ought to go home. I mean, really ought to just go back to being a doctor. But he's the same way. Like, he doesn't know what goes on in housing that the federal government owns.
Right.
Because he doesn't care. Those are the people that get picked. So I don't. The current president, Obama, had to do it. Condoleezza Rice didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I give her a lot of credit. She liked the Bushes. That was fine with her. She liked that, and I like her. I don't like her politics necessarily.
Colin Powell.
Colin Powell was another one. Well, Colin Powell. Remember what I said? Black people who come from other places.
Mm.
So he was Jamaican.
I
right?
know that.
He finally realized that, Jesus Christ, these people are going to kill me. But Colin Powell was from somewhere else. He was a military guy, but he came up through public education and scholarships. That's how he made it. And so he's all right with me. That's who he was. So I think that what goes on with people, with dress, with all of that is that we learn the history, but not enough, and we don't do anything except get mad
Mm-hmm.
about the history. And I'm still learning, but I focus on what are we going to do now.
Right.
What are these young people going to do? So you come to me and you tell me all about what's happening to you. Okay, now what are you going to do? And invariably, it's the white person who does something. Who fights the fight, who does invariably. Why? Because we're 13% of the population, but there are very few of us that have made it, quote unquote, in the in America.
Right.
And those that have tend to turn their back. Now they're realizing now maybe we shouldn't do that. So they're all raising money, for instance, for the guys who clean the stadiums, uh, the football players. They're all doing stuff now. Well, let's see what happens a few months from now. Let's not go back to what we used to be. So that this lady, who's a nurse, so she sees the people that she sees are black people that she sees are have high blood pressure and whatnot. Uh, so she's not giving a complete picture of what goes on. She does not understand that many of those people, first of all, don't trust doctors. Doctors don't want to see.
The Tuskegee effect.
But exactly, that's what's going on. So she needs to learn. But you can stop this, meaning the black people can stop this, but it takes a huge effort to go back and fight the battle that should have been fought years ago, that is being fought now by some, and has to be fought in the future. So let's see what all the politicians, including the Surgeon General, have to say when this virus goes away.
Right.
He will not talk about black people.
Want a great way to help a worthy organization and educate children about the civil rights movement? Visit our foundation, the Joan Trumpauer Mulholland Foundation, at thejtmfoundation.org. That's thejtmfoundation.org. thefoundation.org. We are a 501c3 established to help end racism through education. A $5 monthly recurring donation will provide curriculum for 30 students. As my mother used to say, I can't do everything, but I can do something, because doing nothing is not an option. If you have wanted to help in this cause, but didn't know how, now you can. The Joan Trumpauer Mulholland Foundation at thejtmfoundation.org. But this, at the end of the day, though, this disparity that exists is the result of the past.
It is.
I mean, remember, we talk about this in The Uncomfortable Truth, the film, that we're all downstream at the past, that none of this happens in a vacuum. So, I mean, the housing situations, the economic situations, the education situations, and this is not just slavery and Jim Crow. This goes to, the war on drugs.
Yep.
And so we're all sitting here at this point, and many people are suddenly scratching their heads, or like you said, suddenly realizing, oh my gosh, well, black people are dying.
Right.
But without understanding the why of how this plays a part. Now, this is not to say that this is not excusing away self-accountability in regards of taking their medicine and so forth, or eating healthy, right? We all should be doing that.
Right.
However, the compounding effect of economics, of education, food deserts,
right.
all of this sort of stuff is adding up, and we're seeing the net results. Again, what I said earlier, we're seeing the seeds that we sowed.
It's coming home.
Right.
It's here. That's the danger. The danger is blaming the victim.
Right.
That is the danger.
Right. And now now that we can see this dramatic effect, we should be looking forward and going, okay, how do we prevent this from happening again? Not necessarily the pandemic. Of course, we should do everything we can to prevent that,
Right.
but to prevent the disparity that is taking place and recognize everything that's going on with this.
Yeah. And yeah, we have to get to the why,
Exactly.
and we have to get there without blaming the black people and the brown people and the poor white people.
Right.
We have to, but that's what's happening. The narrative now is turned on to behaviors that these people are exhibiting,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the danger. Is that we don't do that. We can do that, but we it's also about what has gone on historically.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting as well is some people have made the observation about in Wisconsin that people are dying just to vote.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, really? I mean, that's been going on for years.
yeah,
But now
exactly.
suddenly it's white people,
Right,
right? You know,
right.
it's an interesting paradox and all this stuff that's kind of becoming revealed through all this.
Anyway,
Well, stay safe.
yeah, I'm gonna try to do that. You do the same.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
appreciate it.
yeah,
I thought this was an important topic to bring up, given the circumstances right now and how it plays into what we speak on, and that hopefully people, when they take a look at the numbers, when they start to examine what's taking place with the coronavirus, that it doesn't discriminate, but clearly we have,
right. Yep,
and that past is we're seeing the effects of that now. So
yep.
hopefully we can recognize what's going on so that we can move forward, once we get past this, that we don't forget the lessons that we should have learned.
That's it. That's. I like that statement. I would. Yes, yes, yes.
All right, brother.
Well, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right.
Take care.
You too, babe. Take care. Say hi to the family.
Will do. You too. Thank you for listening. To hear all of our interviews uncut and without commercials, you can visit patreon.com/Loki Mulholland. And for just $5 a month, you can enjoy this series and much more.